Russia-Ukraine news. The real reason Putin wants to level Odesa. Since the collapse of the grain export deal last week, Russia has been constantly bombarding the Ukrainian port city of Odesa, and the world is waking up to images of new destruction there. Overnight missile attacks have resulted in at least 1 death and 19 injuries. The Transfiguration Cathedral in the city was severely damaged by the bombings. The striking image of the attack on the cathedral, the largest Orthodox church in the city, is only a small part of what is now at stake. Due to the importance of grain exports to Africa and global food prices, Turkey and the United Nations negotiated a ceasefire in July 2022 in which Russia agreed not to destroy Ukraine's grain exporting infrastructure. The United Nations recorded 1,145 shipments of 33 metric tons of corn, wheat, and other food products leaving Ukrainian ports for 45 different countries as a result of the agreement. However, Vladimir Putin is feeling confident enough to try a new maneuver: destroying Ukraine's grain business, which is dependent on crops stolen from occupied Ukrainian territory. The president of Russia wants to give the world an ultimatum: either buy Russian grain through Russian banks or do nothing while thousands of people starve to death in Africa. Russia has declared the end of the grain deal earlier this week and has since turned its fury on Odesa, launching some of its fiercest attacks since the beginning of its invasion. Ukraine is quickly running out of air defenses, so last night 19 missiles were fired at the city, but only 9 were destroyed. The city center of Odesa is a UNESCO World Heritage Site, but the destruction of its buildings is far from the only cause for alarm. Russia hopes its missiles will cause irreparable damage to Odesa's infrastructure, preventing the city from ever recovering. Damage in the port of Chornomorsk prevented 60,000 metric tons of grain from being loaded onto a large tonnage ship and transported through the grain corridor 2 months ago, according to the Ukrainian government. Moscow has made a number of requests. The Russian agricultural bank Rosselskozbank has been reconnected to the international SWIFT network. Sanctions will no longer apply to agricultural equipment, parts, and services. Free Russian grain-carrying vessels from insurance and reinsurance restrictions and allow them into ports. Fix the world's longest ammonia pipeline between Toliati and Odesa. Russian agricultural firms should have access to their foreign assets and accounts. Photographs documenting the deliberate destruction of some of the world's greatest cultural icons, like the cathedral in Odesa, are compelling and haunting for this reason. It's more difficult to visualize the potential fallout from removing such a large quantity of grain from the global market, though. It would be disastrous for Ukraine's economy and thousands of farmers if the country was unable to export the grain. Ukraine is struggling because it does not have enough air defense systems to completely seal off the sky over the entire country, and Putin is taking advantage of this gap. Now he wants to try bombing the West into returning to the negotiating table.